Hello, fellow gamers, and welcome to the Video Gamers Podcast. A video game can be a work of art, from storytelling to visual art to an incredibly memorable soundtrack. Music and sound is such an important part of the feel of a game, whether it's joy or fear. But how the heck does someone even do that? Well, on today's episode, we're diving into the world of video game music. But first, some introductions are in order. I am your host, Josh, and joining me, he said multiple times that Little Nightmares is one of his favorite series, so I have a feeling he's really gonna enjoy this episode. It's John.
And advance warning for anybody who's been on the Discord. You guys have heard me talking about this for a very long time. I would say if you were to say series, Little Nightmares is my favorite series and certainly my favorite soundtrack. So I'm absolutely stoked to be talking to our guest today.
Well, we're going to explain why, because joining us, the man behind the incredible music and sound of Little Nightmares, this man is responsible for those feelings of dread and fear, so you can thank him for all your anxiety. It's Tobias.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, Tobias?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, we're very excited to have you, man. Thanks so much for hopping on here with us. We're gonna make this a good time. I know it's always a little weird to be like, I'm going on this podcast. I don't know who these guys are. But we are very excited to have you. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background, we've been doing this kind of fun series where we're really trying to talk to various people that are responsible for making the games that we love. So we have talked to voice actors, we have talked to developers, and you are our first actual music composer that we've had a chance to talk to. So I know we're both very excited because I'll be honest, this is a world that I know nothing about.
Okay.
I make the joke, and this is a true story, that I was once kicked out of third grade band. I took trumpet lessons for a year. And then went to band, and they actually said, no, hey, you're probably not ready for this. And so, I'm not musically inclined at all. And so I'm always fascinated by people that just have a talent for that. And so we're really excited to have you and kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Okay, cool. I was actually playing the trumpet myself when I was a kid for a few years. So
people think it's only 3 keys at the top, and
it's so hard. It's so hard. I mean, kids shouldn't play the trumpet. You need so much airflow to make it sound like one note. Even it's really difficult.
I'm curious, why didn't the trumpet make the cut for Little Nightmares soundtrack? Is that not a?
I mean, there are actually some trumpet in there. Like the doctor character, he has a lot of kind of brass instruments layered in there. So the music for that character. So there are some trumpets in there.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, Tobias, let's get to know you a little bit better for our listeners, because we've had a chance to kind of chat offline a little bit and stuff like that. But we were talking a little bit before we actually started recording. We were kind of asking you if you were a gamer, being that we're a gaming podcast. Obviously that's one of our interests here. So, you were saying that you do quite enjoy video games. It's just one of those things where when you work on them and, sometimes coming home from work and then playing them is not always ideal.
Exactly. I mean, I've been playing video games all my life. It was a huge thing when I was a kid. I got a PlayStation when I was 11 or something, and I play that all the time. But these days, I spend a lot of time working with games, working with the sound and sound effects and music, and so it's not the first thing maybe I want to do when I get home from work. But I still enjoy games. All my friends are game developers, and I still really like games. I do play games sometimes, of course. We do have a video game club, me and some of my friends. It's similar to
like a book club kind of thing.
Exactly, like a book club, but with video games. So we are mostly playing kind of indie games. We played Animal
My favorite.
a while ago.
Great game.
Yeah, that was great. We Outer Wilds.
You're speaking. I love Outer Wilds, man. I have been shouting Outer Wilds to everybody that will listen because I think that game is incredible, man. Everybody gets really bent out of shape about trying to fly the little spaceship around because it's pretty janky. But that game is awesome.
Yeah,
man.
it's really cool. They are using like narration in such a unique way, and it's cool. It's really cool.
So for this video game club, is it like, do you guys take turns like saying, hey, this is the game I want to pick, or do you guys all kind of just agree on one? How do you go about picking a game for that?
It's usually just someone says, I heard about this game. It seems cool, and then we just check it out and just play it. I mean, we don't always complete the game. Maybe we just play it for an hour and try it out. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's like video game tapas. You just like little samples of
and it's a great way. We also spoke before about like taking the time to play video games, and that's also a good excuse. Like, I need to play this game now because I need to say something about it tomorrow when we have coffee and talk about it.
There you go. There you go.
I'm that same way where I love just a little sampling of games. I famously don't finish very many games. Even if I love them, I just want to try this next thing or this other game that somebody was talking about or something like that. So I know that bugs a lot of people that are like, you bought this game, like you have to beat it. And then I can't.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like, I want to complete games. I tried to play through Elden Ring last year. I got really far.
Talking about that.
I got really far, but it was just too big. That game was just overwhelming to me. It's
Tobias, so where do you lie on the Souls-like difficulty level? Do you like that sort of grinding difficulty, or do you play more casually?
I play kind of casually. The thing is, I don't really like the boss fights in those games.
Yeah.
I love the exploration part and playing like the non-boss fights.
Best exploration in a game.
Yeah. The exploration in Elden Ring was amazing. But the boss, but it gets a bit repetitive after a while. I think it's and the boss fights aren't that. After a while, they start reusing bosses. Like, it's the same boss, but now it's a ghost. But I already completed this boss. I don't want.
That exploration is what it's one of the things I love. Outer Wilds, we talked about, is fantastic for that because it just lets you go. And then the way that you discover stuff through just playing the game is fantastic. Elden Ring is like that. But I love a really good challenge. John and I were actually talking about the difficulty of like Elden Ring this morning. For me, I'm the kind of guy where it's like, if you put this boss in front of me, I will fight that boss 50 times in a row because it's like, well, I have to beat him. Yeah. But I love Elden Ring did it really well with that ability to say, listen, if you're stuck, just go do something else. Yeah. Like, you can play this game kind of the way you want, which I absolutely love. So
that's true.
So, we're chatting about games. How did you get into video game music, man?
I actually wanted to work with film sound at first. So I tried to get like gigs in the film industry, like sound recording and music for film and short films and commercials. And I did some freelancing with that for some time, but it was difficult to get jobs in that industry. So suddenly, like by fluke, this Tarsier Studios job showed up. So I applied for it. This was in 2011. So I didn't have any experience in video games, but I applied for it anyway. And this application, they needed someone to. They had recently opened up a studio in Malmö, Tarsier Studios, and they needed someone to like take care of the audio. They did a lot of licensing work for Sony, so they were working on Little Big Planet.
Yep.
And they were working on the. Do you remember the PlayStation Vita? The handheld.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a throwback.
Yeah. So they were doing a Little Big Planet for the PlayStation Vita, and they needed someone to like handle the audio part. So and I was kind of I had at that time I had like a part-time teaching job at the university teaching sound design. No, sound design, not music. So I had just been what's the word? Let go from that job. So I need a job. And they were also like, we need someone to do this. So it was a good match in time, and I lived just around the corner from the office, and I think I did a decent work sample and interview as well. So I got the job, and but it was a difficult first few years. Since I had no experience in video game development, it was a kind of a big threshold in learning all it's a very technical job. It's a lot of applications you need to know, and how to implement sounds in games and stuff. It's very technical. But the good thing was that we were kind of we were using the same game engine as Little Big Planet 2. So it was more about we could kind of reuse a lot of the code, and we used the same audio pipeline kind of. So it was a good kind of learning project for me to add sound effects to the game. And I was
right,
also,
because there was existing like infrastructure already. You weren't like learning everything from the ground up. There was like some base. Yeah.
Exactly. So I could focus on making sounds, and I wasn't making music at that point. I was more like I was writing so-called music briefs for other composers, which means that I kind of explain like this level needs this music, and like I tried to kind of explain what kind of music we needed for another external freelancing composer. And I like sourced a lot of kind of references for music that we liked that would fit, and I also. Did you play Little Big Planet at all back in the day?
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah. Great games.
Yeah, they had this thing where you could, as a player, create your own levels. So they needed, so we needed to create some kind of music library, so players could kind of pick a music track for their level. So one big part of the job was to kind of try to find music for this. I mean, existing release music. It was not, some of it was composed original music, but we also kind of sourced available release music kind of from indie rock bands and stuff. So that was a big part of the job, just to like find these tracks, and I did that work together with Sony. Martin Hewitt at Sony helped us to kind of, to contact these record labels and license these tracks to the game. And
so that makes me, you said something, and I've always been curious about this too, where you said you worked with the kind of giving other composers like a little bit of kind of like an idea of what this needs to sound like.
Yeah.
Like for a game, like for instance, like Little Nightmares, right? Do you compose the music for that, and then they do the level? Do you see the kind of the level design and art, and then you go, oh, okay, well, this should have this kind of sound? Like, it's almost like a chicken or egg kind of thing, right? Like, which one comes first? Because I have no idea.
I mean, audio, both sound effects and music is usually late. Like often it's kind of the last thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's very common.
That's interesting.
But one thing, like game development, it's a lot about iteration. You do a one version, and then you change a bunch of stuff, and then so you keep doing versions all the time. So it's not very often you nail something on the first try. It's a lot of kind of you do like some part.
Yeah, you inch closer to the answer every iteration.
Yeah, and that's the same for all disciplines. Like both the level designers are kind of trying out. It's a lot of trial and error, essentially. Like you're building a layout of a level, and you do some tweaks, and it's the same thing for the artists that do maybe the level art, and it's the same thing for me, like trying to continuously tweaking both sound effects and music until everything fits, and it takes a lot of time. It's a very it can be a bit of a big headache. It's difficult to plan the work because everyone is working on everything at the same time. It's kind of building
Things
a house,
changing all the time.
Yeah, and it's changing all the time, and if the end result isn't that fun to play, you kind of have to rethink the whole thing. So it's not a guarantee that it will be fun in the end, even though it's like a perfect idea on paper. So it's a lot of.
Well, luckily it worked out.
Yeah. But I honestly kind of like that way of working, trial and error, and just trying it out. And you have to kind of use your gut feeling all the time. Like, is this cool? Is this fun? And I kind of like that way of working.
Tobias, I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I want to preface this by saying we've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of amazing people in this industry, including, you know, really big studios where, you know, probably 20 years ago, I would have been absolutely floored by the opportunity to talk to him. This interview with you is the closest that I've ever been to starstruck. Like, I can't tell you how much I love and appreciate the sound design for these games.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions here.
Of course.
So you mentioned that you were teaching sound design. Do you have you mentioned you played trumpet earlier. Did you come from like a musical background? Like, have you been playing music more or less most of your life?
I don't have like a formal music or composer training, or I mean, I have 3 older brothers, and they all kind of listened to a lot of music when I grew up. And I was also listening to a lot of music when I grew up, especially electronic music. And
Yes.
Do you have a favorite?
Favorite music?
Yeah, a couple favorite artists.
Yeah. I mean, when I grew up, I listened to a lot of kind of techno underground, like Chemical Brothers. I loved them when I was a kid. The Prodigy,
Crystal Method, Prodigy.
Yeah.
I saw Prodigy in concert.
Oh, you did?
Fat of the Land is my buddy CJ is probably listening to this, by the way. But the Fat of the Land is probably like a top 3 album of all time, I think.
Yeah. So I was kind of. I was playing the trumpet from age 11 or 12 or something. I played that for a few years, and had like lessons in that. And I also played in like a school band. So I guess
somebody didn't kick out of their band.
but the thing is, I was much more interested in electronic music. My brother Joachim bought a sampler, like a sample keyboard. It's not a synthesizer, but it's a keyboard that can record sounds, and then you can play those sounds on a keyboard. So he bought one of those, and he kind of taught me how to use it. So that was kind of my first that was how I was making music when I was a kid. I was kind of sampling other people's music and putting it together. You know, kind of like old school hip hop. Sampling records and putting it together in some kind of collage fashion. So I was much more interested in that way of working, more than like writing songs on the piano. I didn't really know how to do that, honestly. It was and that kind of interests. I've always been more interested in the sounds and the like how things sound and the textures and rather than the melodies and chords and lyrics. It's and that's why I also kind of was really interested in kind of sound design for film, because that was working with that type of interest more than becoming like a composer, because I wasn't really into being a composer. I mean, I don't really know how to, you know, write for an orchestra or something like that, or
okay.
You know.
So that actually segues really into the core question that I wanted to ask quite nicely, is that when I'm, again, Little Nightmares, the first one, really good game. The second one, in my opinion, masterpiece. It is absolutely one of my favorite games, especially from a narrative component. And I think the best thing about the game is the audio design.
Thank you.
And
wow.
I can't imagine developing that game without knowing what that game sounded like first. Like there's some, like Josh and I were just talking about this offline, but the level where you are being stalked by the flickering TV man, and sort of the sound design is synced to the footsteps of him stalking you. It's like I've goosebumps right now just talking about it. It's brilliant, but I can't imagine. You mentioned that the sound design sort of comes much later in the development of the game. Like I can't imagine developing that without the sound design in mind first. And you know, you mentioned you had no interest really in the composition, the actual music part of it. It was more of the sound design, like the atmosphere probably that you're interested. But the theme song for Little Nightmares for me is so iconic. That's surprising to me. So I was hoping you could speak to how that works out. Like, how do you go about layering on a soundscape for a game like this? How do they even develop it without the soundscape in mind first?
Yeah, I think one advantage I had was that we started working on the prototype that eventually became Little Nightmares back in 2014, I think. So I had the luxury to kind of be part of that project from the start. Like I was, since I was working at Tarsier, I was kind of following the prototype, and I also had the opportunity to do sounds and music for the first initial kind of vertical slice, the first prototype that we used to kind of pitch the game to publishers. So I think that was that really helps if you're like part of the project from the start. You can together really kind of form an idea about the game together. It's much more difficult. Like you say, if I would come in like the last 6 months and just try to shoehorn in some sounds in there, that would be really difficult. So I'm a big believer in that you should involve like audio designers really early on and that it's also because you, as when you're working with it, you have to be kind of marinated in it for a while to get to understand it.
It's a good term.
And I also like to kind of play the game all the time. When I was working at Tarsier, it was like an office job in many ways. I had my own room, and I could play the game all the time, every day. So I had really good kind of overview of where the game was going. So I think that also helps to kind of understand the game. Because if you're doing music for a scene, you kind of have to understand what's happening next and what happened before. You kind of have to understand all the context. So it's the more you know and understand that, I think the better job you're able to do audio-wise.
So, okay, I got to jump in here because this is the part where my brain just goes haywire, and I can't, honestly, I can't even fathom it. It's like looking at a circuit board for something. You know what I mean? Like, I know that like people understand how this works, but I look at it and I'm just like, this is alien technology. Like, you're telling me this can add up numbers and stuff? So, like, you're talking about these iterations, and you're talking about like, you kind of see the design, and you kind of have this idea, but like, so. Last night I was listening because I've played Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I think they're very good games. Like, John loves them a little bit more than I do but I cannot deny, like honestly, and I'm not saying this just because you're here, but like the music and the sound design in that game is absolutely incredible.
Oh, thank you.
When I can be on a level and feel like that terror or that fear or that buildup, that's like something, even though I don't know anything about music, like I can feel that. So I was listening through Boots Through the Undergrowth, and it's this very kind of pulse heavy, it almost sounds like footsteps to me. And like, do you hear it in your head? Like, is this one of those things where it's like, you can just kind of hear this sound or this music, and then you just have the technical ability to like, put it forth into the world? Is it like, I'm just experimenting and throwing things out there until I go, oh yeah, that might actually work?
More like the latter. As it's more trial and error, trying things, and it's very. I mean, I can have an idea about, okay, is it going to be fast paced? Is it going to be intense, or is it going to be? I can have an idea about how I should feel when I hear it, but it's a lot of like experimenting. That's what I also really love about it. Like, you can maybe what I do is usually try to find some kind of limitation. So in the case of that track, Boots Through the Undergrowth, I think that's from the forest level in Little Nightmares 2. So that level has like a distinct kind of forest look, or woods, and it's like a cabin in the woods, a wooden house. And so the first thing I did there was kind of to try to nail down some instruments that would work. And and that's very subjective, right? To me, that's like, okay, that should be some acoustic instrument, something that feels kind of rooted, maybe a guitar, acoustic guitar, or a banjo even. And then I just try to limit myself to that. Say, oh, what can I do with a guitar? I'm not a guitar player, so what can I do with it? And that's kind of a very experimental thing. I don't try to write a song on the guitar. I try just to make noise, like make sounds from it. That is
Right.
musical, but it's not like
Right.
what you would expect from a guitar. And that's also what's fun with the kind of the horror genre. It's kind of rewarding experiments like that. It's you need to make. I think the eeriness comes a lot from sounds that you haven't really heard before, or you don't really understand what it is, and it's kind of familiar, but you can't really place what it is.
I think our brains almost revolt a little bit. Like it's like you said, like it's like my brain knows that this is a guitar, but this is not the way that a guitar should sound. And so it kind of creates that anxiety almost where it's like it is familiar, but it's not the way that's the familiar that my brain likes. And so you get this kind of guttural response almost to it. Like I was listening to this literally last night and I shouted to the other room and I was just like, this song's freaking me out, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I mean, like the soundtrack for these games, if you listen to it with zero context, zero visual context, you will still get the same emotional.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay, that's amazing. I thought that you kind of had to have played the games before to understand it. No? Oh, wow.
No. When I'm like, if I'm in a mood where I feel like I need to be writing or something, depressing or scary, or I need to be in that headspace for whatever reason, I put this on, and on its own merit, you kind of get the, like the heebie-jeebies from it in a good way.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I think, maybe it's just me getting older. I think maybe with the rise of indie games lately, like, we've seen a big shift in gaming. Like indie games have always existed, but you're starting to see a higher appreciation from gamers as a whole for the indie genre, because I think what's happened is a lot of these AAA studios have kind of gotten routine. And as gamers, we go, man, I can really appreciate the passion that these indie developers have. And so it's one of those things where I think we're starting to appreciate the music and sound design for games a lot more. And I think we're really starting to understand how that can impact us. Like, I say this a lot, but I love good graphics. Like I love cutting edge graphics. I think the technology is amazing. I love to just see a game and go, wow, but we have spoken, another person that we spoke to was like an artist and an animator for games. And, one of the really neat things that we took away from that is you can only get so real with graphics before it just looks real. And but reality does not have any artistic sense to it. That's just what we see every day. So there's not really art to it in that case. And with music, I think we're really starting to kind of appreciate that maybe it's not the visual that we see, but it's those feelings. It's the way that a level can make us feel. Like Hollow Knight is a really good example of a game that has really, really good sound design to it, where it's like, I can close my eyes and remember a level, not for the visuals, but for the music in that level, if that makes sense. And Little Nightmares, kudos to you, is another one of those games where it's like, I just feel it, man. Like, yes, I can see it, but that's not the part that I remember, And so I think that's where music really comes in. And I think it's almost something that flies under the radar a little bit. And that's not to dismiss the music. I mean, with gamers, because when you feel something, when you walk into that grand city in The Witcher, or Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance, and you're riding your horse across the Old West, that music that's playing in the background is what is making you feel what you're feeling at the time.
100%.
And I think gamers are starting to realize that.
Yeah.
So I'm just blown away by it, man, because it's like I said, this is something that my brain just doesn't compute.
Yeah.
I know when I like something,
But I think one part of the job is to also be a little bit invisible. Like it's supposed to kind of be a bit subconscious in a way. I think that's when it's working the best. I
think that is a phenomenal point, because you're right.
It just fits into the general sort of suspension of disbelief. It's just a part of this experience that you're not necessarily picking out for its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Especially like ambient sounds. It doesn't have to be music even. It can be like the background sounds. I think David Lynch is doing that really well in some of his movies. He has these. Have you seen Eraserhead?
R.I.P. Oh yeah, yeah.
He's doing
every goth kid in in the U.S. watched Eraserhead. That used to be like the question that you would ask other people to know if they were cool or not.
Yeah, but the thing with that film is that you have these industrial drones in the background, like all the time, even though when they're kind of indoors, they have these indoor scenes, and you still hear those like factory drones in the background. It just makes you so claustrophobic and uncomfortable, and it's just background ambience. It's and that's really on us kind of almost like a subconscious level. I think it's. Yeah.
One of the things you touched on was kind of the difference, and I'll be honest, this is another kind of just blind spot for me at least, but you kind of talked about like the composing of the music versus like sound design and the iterations, how you come up with these sounds and things like that. And I think a lot of times people just lump music together. I mean, obviously there's 1,000 different genres, you know, as far as that goes, but I think a lot of times somebody goes, oh, well, if this guy's a composer, then he knows how to do everything. And I think that is very not true. It's almost like artists, right? Like somebody might be a great sculptor, somebody might be a great painter, somebody might be a great digital artist. And I think we kind of comprehend that because it's a little easier to see visually in the differences.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah.
I've never thought about the fact that like somebody that might like be a composer is not composing, like you said, like an orchestra. And does not want to or have the desire to get into like electronic stuff or sound design or something like that. So is that more like just the medium of art where people are talented at different things, or you prefer certain mediums like that?
I think it comes down to a lot of like personal interest, I think. And it's also like I think most people who enjoy writing for orchestra has probably played in an orchestra. Maybe they have a background, maybe they play the cello or violin in an orchestra. They have that kind of background. I don't have that background. I have, like I said before, I like techno music when I was a kid.
Right.
I was listening to The Prodigy. So if you're writing for an orchestra, you kind of have to know the range of all the different instruments and kind of how they work together, and it's a lot of, you have to listen. Also, you have to kind of listen to a ton of orchestral work to kind of start thinking about it that way.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to be good at any of the instruments either.
No, absolutely. No.
Right.
You're right. It's not about performing. That's the thing. I'm a lousy performer. I'm terrible at playing the piano because I never practice. But it's more interesting to me to kind of play instruments in weird ways and try. Yeah, and try to.
Well, it works great, sir.
Explore the sound, like the sonic potential in the instruments in other ways. Because I mean, there's already a million of people playing the guitar really well. I can't compete with that. It's but I think it's a lot about kind of background and interest and some. Yeah, and like as I said before, I was part of Little Nightmares from the start, from the first prototype. So I had the chance to also kind of develop, find some music that was really fitting to what I could do, to my style, and or something that I felt I could do. I
got to ask you. I'm sorry, John. This is just a quick one, but I am a huge fan of EDM. It's my favorite genre by far. My wife
that makes
and kids,
sense for you, Josh.
Yeah, I'm an old guy, you know what I mean? And so for me, listening to techno and progressive house and stuff like that, like my wife and kids pick on me all the time because they're like, Dad, you like this weird music.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
like,
okay.
It's just what my brain loves, man.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite, is there like a favorite artist or band that's in the EDM genre that is your favorite right now? Mine is Stodo. So I don't know if you've heard of Stodo, but that's the one where it's like, those guys, every song they make, I think is phenomenal.
No, I mean, I'm also pretty old school. I like I like artists like Aphex Twin.
Oh yeah,
which is maybe more like an experimental vein. And
Did you listen to like industrial music, like Skinny Puppy or Ogre or anything
yeah,
like that?
yeah. Actually, my oldest brother was listening to Front 242 a lot when I was a kid.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right on.
So yeah, definitely. And Duff and that kind of like body music. I love that stuff. Probably more into that stuff than EDM.
It's just the progression. I love the layers. Like people try to ask me like, why do you like this stuff? And I go, it's the layers. It's that build up, man. It's that that like just hearing this song building up and then come crashing down again kind of thing. So
it's also super energetic music. Like Josh is our resident Energizer bunny, so I feel like it's a perfect theme song for your.
Me.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the thing, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, what I was going to say is that from a layman's perspective, again, like I was in a band for a while, but I'm like not a musician at all. I was barely competent, and that's putting it generously. But it's cool. Like when I'm listening to your music, when I'm listening to your sound design, I go, guy's a master. Like this guy is like next level genius. Like you should never explore music because there are Tobiases in the world that you could never catch up to. And it's just so it's so honest and refreshing to hear somebody who I'm like, I covet your talent, for you to go like, yeah, I kind of had to find music that I felt like I could like replicate or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just crazy to me that it's a very humble thing for you to say.
Yeah. Thanks.
Is there, so that's a good question too, because, we look up to people that are in the industry and we go, this, obviously this person has made it in their career. They have this, crazy talent. Is there somebody that you look up to?
Of course. I mean, I look up to people who kind of, stay creative their entire life. People who keep being an artist when they are 70, like David Lynch, for example. That's really inspiring to me. People like Scott Walker. I don't know. He was like a boy band singer in the 60s. And then he got sick of that. And so we had this kind of avant-garde experimental music career, like in the before he passed away. So that was really inspiring to me. Like he had this. So he's basically like a crooner singer that started to make this really experimental music when he was like 60 years old. That's wow. Amazing to me.
That's awesome.
And he wrote these incredible lyrics and like collaborated with some really great musicians. He did an album with Sunno, the like a doom metal band, also in his 60s or something. That was in 2014. That's amazing to me. That's something I really admire.
So you're talking about it's Sun Zero and then like parentheses, like a million parentheses.
That one, yeah, exactly.
My God. I bet you and I have similar taste in music.
Yeah, that's a great band.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a really inspiring story, honestly. Somebody who's probably been a musician his entire life has this sort of self-renaissance at 60, and completely reinvents himself.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about Little Nightmares. Reanimal has been announced. Is that something that you're working on?
No, I'm not working on Reanimal. I'm a freelancer now.
Okay.
So I resigned from Tarsier just when they started to work on that.
Oh, okay, cool.
But man. I mean, I think
it is their loss, but it gives you the ability to do what you want to do.
I jumped on. I did some sound and music for a animated feature film. I had the opportunity, so I kind of wanted to jump on that to try it out. And now I'm working on another game project that's not really announced yet. So I can't talk about that, but
is it horror?
I can say it's horror. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure Reanimal is gonna sound amazing. I'm sure of it. It's the thing is, Christian Wasselbring was my colleague at Tarsier working. He also did a lot of the sound design for Little Nightmares. So he's working on Reanimal.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, I didn't do all the sounds myself for Little Nightmares. It was me,
Right.
Christian
Sure, it was a team.
Wasselbring, and Christian Björklund. So we were a team of 3 people who did the sound design. But I did all the music.
So it's in good hands at least.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So were you involved or consulted in the Little Nightmares handoff to Bandai at all? Is that something that you?
Yeah, I'm involved in some work for Little Nightmares 3. Not in the same way. I was super involved in Little Nightmares 2. I was,
Sure.
like I said, I was working with it every day. But I'm doing some work for it, but not in the same way, really.
So I am a person who, like, indie games tend to be more my speed. I tend to find that the narrative and the art style is a bit more to my liking, and I have like a fear. It's almost like, again, like growing up as like a goth kid, it's like once something hit mainstream, it's like, this can't be cool anymore.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any thoughts on a big studio sort of taking the reins on an indie project like this?
That's a good question. No,
I hope they do really well.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I mean, the good thing with publishers. I mean, Bandai Namco was the publisher from the start of Little Nightmares. So they've been the publisher all along. But it's another studio doing Little Nightmares 3. But I think, I mean, the good thing with big publishers is that they have kind of money to spend on to make it good. Like they can maybe delay the project to make sure that it's improving, and they can also spend more money with marketing and so the game has a better reach. I think Bandai Namco did a good job at making sure Little Nightmares was kind of had a good reach to the audiences.
Well, sure, but I think that the budget can be a double-edged sword. So, like the Marvel movies, for instance, like just because they have the money to make these movies reach large audiences doesn't necessarily mean that's the right thing to do.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's tricky with Little Nightmares was very much a it's a Tarsher game. It's very shaped by the artists at Tarsher and
they have a style that's very recognizable.
Absolutely.
Oh God, yeah,
I mean, it's the art team at Tarsher is world class. To me, it's the best art team in the world. It's no question about it. They are incredible. I mean, if you look at some of the concept art is like you look at the concept art and then you look at the scene in the game. It's like it's the same. It's just it's the same image.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're doing freelance work now. Does that feel like freeing to you? I mean, is this like something where, it's like, hey, I've done this, I've done game design or game, the audio design, sound design and that kind of thing. Is it more that it's like, I just want to have the freedom to kind of do what my passions are at that point? Is that kind of like the driving force behind wanting to do like freelance work?
It's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's to be able to pick what projects, and also I think it may sound simple, but one really big factor is that you are able to kind of design your own space, how you work. Just simple things like I can decide in a heartbeat if I want to buy an application, or if I want to go and buy a cello. I can do that. It's no problem. I can design. I can go and buy a new chair. Or
it doesn't have to go through like 5 different approval layers to make sure it's in the budget or whatever.
And also being able to pick projects and I also wanted to try some other type of game. I mean, I don't mind working with games, but I get bored if I have to do the same game over and over again. I want to try to do something new every time.
Like if you feel like you've kind of carved this name for horror, for instance, right? Like where it's like, okay, everybody knows I can do horror, music and sounds, and I'm great at that. But it's like, but now you just have people approaching you going like, hey, you want to do the sound for this horror game? And you're like, oh.
I don't mind horror at all. I think that's a really fun genre to work with. It's more like like Little Nightmares is a lot about building suspense and hide and sneak gameplay. It's a lot of stealth. It's not that much kind of typical gameplay. So one thing I want to do, maybe more do a game that's that has more gameplay. More classic.
More of like an action game or something.
Yeah, something like that. That would be fun to try. And I also had the opportunity to do sounds for that feature film. It's actually an Algerian animated movie called Khamsa that I did a couple of years ago. So I had the opportunity to do sounds for that. So I could kind of try to work with a film for it wasn't the first time, but it was the first time I could do both sound design and music for a feature film. That was really interesting to me to try that.
So I'm just gonna plug you here. I would also love to hear your music in a bigger, more action-oriented game. So if anybody from Software happens to be listening to this, I think Tobias and perhaps an Elden Ring or Dark Souls collab would sound very nice to me.
That's awesome. Well, Tobias, listen, we are running short on time, but we wanted to kind of wrap things up with just a couple gaming questions for you, maybe put you on the spot just a little bit here. What is your favorite game of the last few years that you have played?
The last few years. It's probably... it's probably Animal Well or Elden Ring. I mentioned those previously.
Yeah.
I mean, Elden Ring I never finished it, but it was an amazing experience anyway.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elden Ring's a top 5 game for me by far. And so I don't know, and if you don't have an answer for this one, that's plenty okay. We know you're busy, but is there a game coming out either this year or maybe next year that you're very excited to try or to get your hands on?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't have good. I don't have. I'm really lousy at keeping track of upcoming games, to be honest.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's part of what we do is put games on people's radars. So we're always curious if there's a game. John and I are both excited for a game called Expedition 33 that's coming out very soon. That looks really, really good. So it's always a curious question to say, like, is there something coming that you're excited for?
I mean, the thing is, I'm always super late to the party. Like Elden Ring was released several years ago, but it's always like that. It's like, oh, I should play that at some point, and then 2 years later I pick it up and play it.
Yeah,
it's always like that. I'm terrible at doing it. It's also that, John, you were talking about this kind of indie thing, like everyone's playing that now. I don't want to play it. Like
right. Yeah, no, I get that.
Everyone is watching Squid Game now. I'm not going to watch it, but I watch it 2 years later anyway, just to miss out.
Yeah,
not to miss out.
That's awesome. All right,
Tobias, I have 3 goofy questions for you.
Okay.
You're Swedish, correct?
Yeah.
How often do you shop at IKEA?
A couple of times a year, maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you eat at the food court?
Yeah, but oh man, that food isn't good at all. No.
That's what John was fishing for right there.
I mean, they serve these green peas, and they were all like raisins.
God, gross. What do you think about pickled herring?
Oh, it's okay. I'm actually a vegetarian, but I do. I mean, I before I became a vegetarian, I ate them, but it's okay. I do like the schnapps. You usually drink like a schnapps to herring, like when in Christmas and Easter and stuff.
Yeah, just kind of like a belly warmer kind of thing.
Yeah, like a spiced liquor kind of thing. That's really good.
What is your favorite Swedish vegetarian food?
I mean, Swedish don't have. I mean, my favorite food is like Korean food and Vietnamese food. Because Swedish food is it's only meat and potatoes. Is sweet.
I was gonna say you never see like a Swedish restaurant in like the United States where people are like, "Come have the Swedish food."
No, I mean
you're right. I can't think of a single one.
So
yeah, and then sorry, one last question: what is your favorite Swedish movie that an American might not have heard of?
Swedish movie. Oh, that's probably. There is a Swedish hyped director called Ruben Östlund. He made a movie a few years.
That's unpronounceable for us, by the way.
Ruben Östlund.
Thank you.
He made a movie a few years back called De ofrivilliga. Let me check what that was in English.
Josh, did you ever see Let the Right One In by any chance?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Oh my, it's slants horror. I wouldn't say it's a straight up horror movie, but God, is that a good movie?
Yeah, that's also an amazing movie. It's called De ofrivilliga. It's called Involuntary in English. That was a really good movie.
Sounds better in Swedish.
Yeah.
but Let the Right One In is also. I mean, he's one of my favorite authors. The author behind Let the Right One In.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Brilliant movie.
Awesome. Well, Tobias, this has been so much fun, man. I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and chatting with us. I've learned a lot. Like I said, this was a huge blind spot for me. My brain just doesn't work with music other than just appreciating it. It's really cool for our listeners, and I think gamers in general, to just kind of get that peek behind the curtain as to like, you know, we hear it, we feel it, but we had no clue like how this is made, you know, how it's incorporated into a video game. You know, the genius behind it, honestly, to do that and to be able to create like that feel and that vibe. You know, I kind of explain it as like a guttural response, like you mentioned with horror, that you like working on that, and it's so crucial to get that feeling. You know, if it doesn't scare you, then horror's not really doing anything at that point. You know, if it's not giving you anxiety, you know, then it's, you know, then it's what's it doing at that point. So really appreciate you giving your time to just hop on with us and kind of give us that insight. You know, we wish you the best of luck. You know, thank you for you know, the music and the sound design on Little Nightmares 1 and 2. They are insanely well-known games in the gaming community. So there's definitely an appreciation that gamers have for that.
Oh,
you know,
thanks a lot, and thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Of course, and it honestly, this is a selfish episode for me. Like this has been such an honor. Like, my gosh. I'm still like, I just have like butterflies in my stomach from being able to talk to you. But we wanted to give you, where's the place where people can follow your work or connect with you, social media, any projects that you got working on?
I'm terrible at social media, but I do have an Instagram, Tobias_Lilja. I will post something there, like updates about new projects and stuff. That's probably the best way.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, everybody, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Tobias, once again. This has been an absolute blast. This is awesome for me. I know it's awesome for John. He's still just grinning from ear to ear there. So that's going to do it for this one. Until next time, happy gaming.
Toodles.